What's going on, guys? So I want to go through 7950 X3D and pretty much any Ryzen optimization for Windows 11, as they kind of fall in the same ballpark of what needs to be done. So a bullet point this information for you. I'm probably gonna submit either a file or just paste this just so you have it for reference as well. So one of the main things that you have to focus on from the very beginning is installing the operating system from scratch. And the reason why I say from scratch is because there's a lot of telemetry that's installed from the very beginning. Obviously, you can try to disable it, but you're gonna have to deal with a lot of other nonsense. Like you're gonna have to deal with Microsoft accounts. So upon installation of Windows 11 normally, it's gonna force you to do Windows 11 sign in into the Microsoft account, and then it binds it to the Microsoft account, which for some people it's fine. If you're in that category, don't worry about it. But for most people like me that just doesn't want any kind of telemetry going in the background, I suggest using Rufus. Rufus is a USB burning software. It is shareware, so free, and this is the best way to do the fresh installation Windows 11 or Windows 10 because it works the same way, and it allows us to have several options for the install, which Windows does not give you normally. So starting with the first thing, you can download Windows 11 here, or you can type in basically download Windows 11 in a browser, make sure it's Microsoft, and the same thing for Windows 10, but we're touching on Windows 11 here. So I left the links. Rufus, once you pull it up, so you can select the latest version, and if you don't want to go off that link, just go to the main page, and once you're there, you'll see it, and you can see, the portable version, standard version. I use standard version, but you can do portable. Portable works too. It doesn't matter really. Just one installs onto your system, and the other one just pulls up from the file, and that's it. So starting with Rufus, first thing that I would do, right, is pull up Rufus after you download it. And once that's pulled up, you're gonna select a download image of the Windows 11 that you downloaded officially from Microsoft page. And by the way, it's free of charge to download the actual ISO. So you're gonna download the file, but the license you're gonna have to pay for eventually. So you're gonna pull up the image that you downloaded. So in my case, it's this one. You're gonna pull this up. So here you want to make sure that this is standard Windows installation, not Windows to go, because Windows to go is like if you install an operating system on a separate USB stick, and you can actually use the USB stick as the moving operating system. Like you can put it in a different computer, use a sign-in into the stick, and you can actually use the Windows, but don't use that one if you're just installing Windows. So you're gonna go standard, GPT, don't do MBR. It should be GPT, and then you can label it whatever you can put. Let's say Windows 11, and here you don't have to touch anything. I'd rather leave it as default, and so this is the only option here, so you don't have to worry about that. Once you hit start, it'll give you a set of these options. Make sure that you select all of them. If you're creating a local account. So in my case here, I am disabling requirements. This is really important here. Obviously, I hope you have 4 GB of RAM if you have 7950 X3D, but listen, sometimes people don't, and I don't think you should be limited to what you have in order to install Windows 11. So using Rufus, it actually allows us to bypass a lot of Windows requirements. So this is one of them. Secure boot, honestly, I have it on because Windows will actually throw some warnings or sometimes even errors if you don't have secure boot. This may or may not disable that requirement because I actually just have it enabled in BIOS all the time. But if you select it here, the requirement for the secure boot upon install and after you use the Windows may be alleviated, but at the very least it's alleviated during the install, because if you don't have secure boot enabled, you just won't be able to install Windows. So this is Windows 11 issue basically. So the TPM is another thing that actually a lot of people disable, me including. So you can look up what TPM is. I'll also disable FPTM, which is like basically like a pinging system between AMD and operating system and your hardware. And let's say you change the CPU. You can have some real issues there, because then it's gonna say put that CPU back in place and then reactivate the security keys and FPTM and all this stuff. You can actually break your operating system, because then your motherboard is in conflict with the operating system and the hardware not matching. And then it creates a bunch of headaches. Let's say you return the CPU or your CPU goes bad. Well, the little, almost like a BitLocker on the operating system and on the FPTM part of the chip is now in conflict with your motherboard, or your motherboard is pinging it but it's not seeing it, it's requiring the same CPU. It's a headache. So this alleviates this requirement, and I'll show you how to disable it in BIOS too. But then remove requirement for the online Microsoft account. Excellent, that's exactly what we need. Then create a local account with your username. You can select whatever. It doesn't have to be what I said here. Then set regional options to the same values as these users. This one is, I think, is just for the clock. So this one, yeah, I'll still select it, and then disable data collection. Obvious, you don't want to have telemetry in the background. And then disable BitLocker automatic device encryption. If you hit OK, then it's going to select it, and you're going to hit ready, and it's going to just burn on your USB drive. I'm not going to do it, obviously. So, extremely important part that I want to touch on. BitLocker. BitLocker on Windows 11 is complete garbage. Windows 11, in fact, I had Windows 11 installed separately without burning this specialized Windows install USB stick, and BitLocker actually activated by itself. And basically when I did a fresh install of Windows 11 using this specialized build that I just created, for example, I was greeted with 3 out of 4 of my drives BitLocked. And I was freaking out for a little bit because I had no access to a slew of files, because I did like a bunch of like optimization guides. I did like a bunch of like preparation files for when I just reinstall Windows. So when I reinstall Windows on my main drive, I still have all the data that I can just, reinstall all the apps and my settings and all this other stuff. So lesson learned here is back up your files, not just on your operating system. Move it to a separate hard drive too. Whatever that you really feel like, if it goes, you'll be devastated, move that stuff to an external hard drive, so it's outside of the system, and make sure it's not BitLocked. But Windows 11 will actually BitLock your drives. Even if you, let's say, delete your operating system and install something brand new, well, if you were logged into the Microsoft account, the BitLocker keys are actually in a Microsoft account. And that's hopefully, because if something happens with your Microsoft account, you're going to have to call Microsoft and hope that they're going to enable your drives. But it is a headache. It really is. So make sure that you disable online accounts, right? for the Microsoft through this build, and just I'm gonna put these two links here somewhere under the video so you have it. But my thing is, make sure you disable Bitlocker. So you're gonna type in Bitlocker after you hit Windows key. You see manage Bitlocker, that's what you want. And you can see that it's turned off for all my drive. And that's what you want. And the gentleman in the video actually shows it how to do it. I don't want to mess with it right now because it's gonna take too much time. By the way, he's a TPM, but we scratched the requirement basically. So that's what you want to see. You want to see Bitlocker off, unless you want to use the Bitlocker. But Bitlocker is basically a code that you have to put in order to unlock your drives.